Hi everyone, welcome back to Satisfactory. This is Tuplex. Since the last episode, I have been unlocking a lot of stuff. Basically everything in Tier 3 and Tier 4, since we completed Phase 1. This has all become available, and because of the work that we did in Phase 1 to automate the production of all these components, unlocking everything that we just made available has been trivially easy, because it's calling for all things that we're already making in quantity, and I've got containers full of this stuff. So we already unlocked coal power and basic steel last time, and then just in the recent past I unlocked vehicular transport, which gives us tractors and truck stations. And like I said before, I generally don't make use of these, and I probably won't in this playthrough either, but they are there. I did enhanced asset security, which gives us a larger, more effective weapon than the old Xeno poker or whatever it's called. I got this unlocked. Well, we'll get to this one later. And with some of those unlocks now, I have more hand slots and I have more inventory slots. We'll go over to the MAM in a minute, and I'll show you some of the other stuff I unlocked there. And then in Tier 4, I've unlocked the Blueprint Designer, which we will start using. Logistics Mark III. That gives us Mark III container belts and conveyor lifts, which use steel. And I mentioned before that once I unlock that, I really prefer to use Mark III, even more so than the Mark II belts. And the reason for that is that the Mark III belts are, number one, they're a lot faster. They will carry 270 per minute, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 270 per minute, so more than double what the Mark II will. And the belt just uses one steel plate per unit length or whatever, versus the Mark II belt that uses reinforced iron plates. And we can easily make steel beams a lot more quickly than we can reinforced iron plates, which is why I generally will favor Mark III over Mark II, even if I don't need all that capacity, just because the materials are cheaper, if that makes sense. So we have that available now. That's going to help us a lot, with how much material we can move on a single belt. I unlocked advanced steel production, which gives us access to the Miner Mark II. The Miner Mark II is twice as fast as the Miner Mark I. Looks like my pod is returning. Excuse the noise. Yeah, so the Miner Mark II is twice as powerful as the Miner Mark I. It uses encased steel beams as one of the ingredients, which is why, we couldn't really use it before, but we can use it now. We haven't automated those encased industrial beams yet, but they're pretty easy to make. In the meantime, they just take steel beams and concrete. So we'll be using them in limited quantities. Up until now, I'm just using the ones that I found at the crash sites. I haven't had to make any yet, so I'll continue to do that until we run out. And then we can always handcraft a bit if needed until we get it automated. We will be automating it soon. And I also unlocked expanded power structure, which gives us access to these power towers. And I would like to start making use of those immediately. Here we go. Right, so these are large structures that are designed for power transmission, basically. you can hook wires up to these, and they go a very long way, assuming you have the ingredients, which right now I don't for more than one of these. But we'll use these to connect, you know, distant parts of the base. And they will also become a travel conduit for us, because we can zip line along those wires very easily, which you will see once we get those set up. And then the last one here are the hyper tubes. These are also really fun for transportation. And I'm going to go ahead and unlock that. And at this point, oh, I need more copper sheet. At this point, we essentially have everything in Phase 2 unlocked and can start building our Phase 2 factory.
Milestone reached. They are all you dreamed of. We watched them. Hyper.
Okay. Yeah, so hypertubes are really cool. And we'll get those set up as well. Hypertubes are good for point-to-point travel. I can give you a little demonstration. I'm sure most of you all have seen these before. Oh, we also have power storage, which is kind of like a battery. I don't really have a big use for that right now, but let me show you a hypertube real quick. So you have a hypertube entrance, which you step inside of. And then you can create hypertubes, which are connected to it. Like so. And you need to power it up. Okay. My demo is gonna be a little bit difficult. Here we go. And then you just step inside and you zoom across the map. So so eventually we will connect, again, all the distant parts of our bases will be connected with those larger power poles, and I will also connect them with hypertubes, and eventually perhaps even with rail networks, depending on what we're connecting. And that way we'll be able to move around the map much more easily than we currently can. Right, because getting from here up to here where our coal power is it's a bit of a hike. It takes a minute or two right now, but with that other infrastructure in place, it'll be much easier. So let me add some of these. I'm going to add some of these power towers. To my list here, and I'll gather up some materials here shortly. Now let's go over to the MAM, because I've unlocked quite a bit of stuff over here as well. Okay, copper rotor, steel cast plate. Okay, yeah, I'll get to the alternate recipes here soon. But in the meantime, the first thing that I want to do is unlock dimensional depots. But before we get to that, I unlocked some more stuff on the Quadrupling tree. Over here in this area, there's a pure Quadrupling node that we discovered much earlier in the game, you know, where those ramps are going. So I set up a small factory over there to make Quadrupling wire. And with that, I was able to unlock the AI limiter and the smart splitter. And we just need the AI limiter because it's an ingredient for the smart splitter. But what the smart splitter allows us to do is we can control what goes to what output. So, for example, we could, any means anything that goes through it will pass through the center output. And we could do something like send overflow to the right output. So what that'll do is that if the center output ever becomes backed up and blocked, everything will start to go out the right output instead. But as long as it can flow through the center output, then nothing will go out through the overflow. And this is what I use most frequently, because this way we can we can start to set up our production here so that any excess production gets sent to the awesome sink rather than just backing up and stopping. So we'll be making extensive use of that, and it also helps to avoid some of the balancing shenanigans that I've had to do so far with splitters and mergers. When you have the overflow control available, that makes it much easier to do those things. And then you can also use it to filter for specific items, for example. And actually, I have a good example of what we could use that for already. Right down here, we have leaves and wood and mycelia, and these are all going to various areas. Well, one thing that we could do is we could put a smart splitter here in front of a single container, and let's make that I'll make that a Mark III belt. Whoops. Over here. There. So now in here I could put any kind of fuel. So I don't know. I'll just put the icon for biomass, I guess. So anything that we could turn into biomass could go into here, and we could set the smart splitter to send wood straight ahead. We can send leaves that way, and we can send mycelia that way, right? And now we can manage everything with, we can manage all three of those with a single container. Okay, so now I have wood, leaves, and mycelia, and we'll throw it all in this bin, and it should be able to sort itself out. See, there goes the wood. We saw the leaves zip by. I can only assume the mycelia went by as well. All right, so those splitters are a powerful addition to the game, and like I said, you can make those with AI limiters, and those are made from quick wire and copper sheet, and we'll be automating production of these because I'll use a lot of these smart splitters in the game. Oh, I actually didn't drop off my mycelia. Let me do that. There we go. And that goes over there. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. So we got that. Smart splitters, really important. And eventually we can get programmable splitters as well, but for that we need some more higher end components. But yeah, there's some good stuff there. We also have access to Mark II power poles when we're ready for those. Those are essentially the same as regular power poles, but you can connect 7 things to them instead of 4. On the mycelia tree, I unlocked the gas mask. So you can see I now have the gas mask equipped. And with the gas mask, you have to make these gas filters. So whenever you enter an area with poisonous gas, you will start to consume the filters, but you otherwise will not be harmed by the poison gas as long as you have filters available. And later on in the game, you can also create another type of filter that will protect you from radiation. Let's see, I unlocked purple power slugs, so we can make power shards from purple slugs. I haven't done anything additional with quartz yet. With sulfur, I did unlock the Nobelisk detonator, which you saw. You can have great fun with this. I'll find a suitable demonstration for this at some point, but essentially you can blow things up with it. And there are certain things that you need to blow up. Sometimes boulders will block a cave entrance or will be on top of a resource node that you want to use, and you can blow them up. You You can also use Nobelisk to blow up these columns that emit poison gas. Right, a single Nobelisk will blow those up, and then they won't produce gas anymore. So you can do a lot of good things with the Nobelisk. Yeah, and so that I think was about it. So I crafted a bunch of this SAM fluctuator by going back to that cave where we got the quartz earlier. I set up a small assembly line that's just running off of a biofuel burner that creates reanimated SAM from the ore, and then with the reanimated SAM and some wire and some steel pipe, you can make these SAM fluctuators. So I have close to 200 of those. So let's take that along with our Mercer spheres, and let's unlock dimensional depots. These things are awesome.
Dimensional depot unlocked. SAM can be utilized to deconstruct matter down to its chemical element.
Okay, I won't listen to all that, but once you unlock the dimensional depot, you get these additional trees that basically improve the abilities of the dimensional depot. But let me show you how these work, and we'll do that with these iron plates to start with. Right. What do I need? I need modular frames and I need cables. Okay. Let's grab some of those. All right. So what I like to do is put those on top of my storage container. Connect it up like that. And now we can see iron plate is going into the dimensional depot. And we can see that it's uploading. Well, what the heck does uploading mean? And right now it's uploading 15 per minute. Well, if we look in our inventory, we can see now that we have iron plate showing up here. And this is in addition to what I have in my actual inventory. This is stored in the cloud. So if I want, I can click on this stack and I can take those 7 iron plates out and add them to my inventory, and I can do that from anywhere in the world. Right? So ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to have these dimensional depots attached to pretty much every item that we produce that we want to be able to use for building, so that anywhere we are on the planet, we can have access to those items. Now, right now, this is only uploading at 15 a minute, which is very slow. But eventually, we'll be able to upgrade, and when they're fully upgraded, you'll be able to upload at 240 a minute, and you'll be able to have 5 stacks of whatever the item is stored in the dimensional depots. So by the time you get these fully upgraded, you really stop worrying about what you have in your inventory. You just throw everything in the cloud, and you're good to go. Okay. So what we'll be doing over time, now these use a Mercer sphere. Each one uses a Mercer sphere, which is why you want to gather as many of those as you possibly can. And they also use those SAM actuators, or whatever they're called, which require a lot of material. So those, generally, the only thing preventing you from spamming these everywhere is just how many Mercer spheres and SAM fluctuators you have on hand. So you really want to gather as many as you can of both of those things, so that you can, what we'll want to do is we'll want to get these on top of every single one of these things. We'll want to get them attached to steel, right? The steel beams and steel pipes and so on and so forth. And then start making the upgrades so that it's faster. Because 15 a minute is kind of silly. In fact, we could upgrade this right now, and then it would be 30 a minute, right? But I'm going to wait just a short while before we do that. The other thing I would like to upgrade to is the power augmenter. But we are not quite there yet because I need 50 computers. And I have found some computers at crash sites, but I only have 45 of them. So I don't have enough computers to unlock that yet. But this basically will give you 500 megawatts of power with no fuel requirement at all, and it'll give you a 10% boost of however much power you have on your power grid. So it's great to augment your power grid, and in fact you can run multiples of these, and the bonuses will stack. You just need the materials to do it, and the summer sloops to do it. Okay, so we'll have to hold off on that for a little bit until we find more computers. But as soon as I have enough computers on hand, we'll build one of those. And the other thing I want to get is the production amplifier. And for that, I'm going to need 50 circuit boards, which I think I have. Yes, I do have 50 circuit boards. So we could unlock that, and this will allow you to put summer sloops into your crafting machines, much like you would a power shard. Right, this part will unlock. You can put a summer sloop there, and it will double your production. Or it'll double the number of items that come out of every production cycle. And that is very powerful, especially when you're using it on rare materials. For example, creating power shards, right? Normally, you're going to use one blue slug to make one power shard. Well, if you make the power shard in a machine instead of handcrafting, you can put a summer sloop in there, and then you'll get 2 power shards for every blue power slug. You can also use it to make DNA capsules. And this is where it gets really good because you can stack those bonuses. So, for example, you could use the summer sloop to double the amount of protein that you make from a single bit of animal remains. And then you can use it again to turn that protein into capsules. So you can essentially get 4 DNA capsules out of every bit of animal remains rather than just 1, right? So it's a production multiplier, and it's really awesome to have. And we will unlock that shortly. But right now, I want to save my SAM fluctuators for the time being to make dimensional depots like this one. Let's see how we're doing here. Yeah. So right now we can hold 1 stack, and we can upload at 15 a minute. And early on in the game, what I'll do is I'll set up a container and a dimensional depot, and I'll use this to upload anything that I'm not mass producing. So for example, we could use it to store our Mercer spheres. We could use it to store hard drives. We could use it to store AI limiters, for example. Right, a lot of these small stacks of items, I'll just throw in a container like this, and if it's slow, I don't really care. It'll eventually all upload into the cloud, and then when I need those things, I can pull it down. And then I usually check this option, take from inventory before depot. So what that does is, if I'm using iron plates, for example, to build something, it'll use what I have in my physical inventory before it starts pulling things from the dimensional depot. So that helps to keep the size of my inventory from getting bloated. All right, so I can throw this coal in there. Yeah, I'll keep the rest of the stuff for now. But in any case, more of that to come. So the next time we get together, I should have these on top of all of our storage containers, so that all of these supplies are available in the cloud, as well as in the containers themselves. Okay, so let's take a look at the plan. What I want to do first is I want to double our power output, and I've already doubled it once since we started. And I did that easily enough just by putting power shards in the miners to get double the output. And now I'm about to double it again because now I have miner Mark IIs. So we're going to add another 16 generators to our thing, to our setup. So let's just get some of these parts that I need here. We're going to need a lot of reinforced plate. I'll get some extra. We're going to need some rotors. Okay. And we're going to need some cable. Okay. And then I'm also going to build some of these towers. Let me get some extra wire. Okay, and I have all the encased industrial beams that I own. All right, so let's get this set up. So we're going to replace our current power line that's running over there. Oh, and by the way, my lizard doggos are gone. I loaded my save a while ago, and they were missing from the pen. I deleted the pen, thinking maybe they got stuck inside a block of foundation or something, but they're not there, and I have no idea where they are. According to this, they're still in the same place, but they're really not, and I think they're gone forever. So that's why I honestly don't worry about lizard doggos that much, because they always disappear on me, and I don't know why. All right, so we're going to replace this power line using our power towers. And then over here, like I said, since the last time we played, I doubled up. So we have 16 coal generators running already. And that's with both of these miners overclocked at 200%. So we're getting 120 each. And once we replace these with Mark II miners and overclock those, then we'll be getting 240 per minute out of each of these coal nodes. And we'll be able to double the output. And I think what I'll do is I'll set up another row of 16 over here on this side, and we'll just send one of the belts there and one of the belts here. Hope that makes sense. And then I'll put dimensional depots on our steel production over there, so that hopefully we won't have to run over there every single time we need something. And then once we get that set up, I'll start to go over the plan for phase 2. It's a little complicated. Where the heck am I? Okay. Yeah. So this seems like a good place to set up the first one. Now there's two types. There's a power tower. There's a power tower with a platform, and there's one without a platform. This is the one with the platform. And basically all we do is we just connect that like this, right? So there's a connector there, which acts like a regular power pole. Like this one. So you would use this to connect to your local power distribution, and then the connectors up here are used to connect your transmission line between towers. So the one with the platform just allows you to climb up onto the platform, if I can get on the ladder. And from there it makes it easy to get on the zip line. Okay. But let's get this connected. So these go quite a long way, as you'll be able to see here. So I'm going to head off in this direction. You know what? Let's run with this so I can get it out as far as I can. Looks like that's about the distance we can go. All right, now let me show you how the zip line works. I mean, you know how it works already, but this is made for zip lining. All right, so we'll be able to travel rather quickly using this method. Getting off is a bit of a challenge. But when these are connected, you can just hold down the button and you'll continue zipping along. And then once this is set up, we'll come back and delete all these power poles on the ground. There we go. Yeah, and I think if I put the next tower here, I should be able to put one up on the cliff there, and I believe that it'll reach. We'll find out here in a moment. I'm going to have to run up there first. My only criticism of these is that these can actually reach farther than you can place remotely. And what I mean by that is, like, you standing on one tower, you're not able to place the next tower far enough away to utilize the full distance that it can span, just because you don't have the reach. If you did, you would be able to place these farther apart without having to run with it. You know, you could just get up on a tower, place the next one, zip over to the new tower, and then place another one, and so on, like that. That would make this a bit easier, but you can't do that. Yeah, so let's put this one over here. And then I think one more of these ought to do it. In fact, maybe what we could do is add a little platform. Now in this case my wires are going to be passing through this tree, but I'll add a little platform down at the end of this thing to place the final tower, or the penultimate tower, before we drop down. Alright, so I'll just put a 2x2 grid. We'll put my tower up. I think that's evenly spaced. No, not quite. How's that? That looks about right. Yeah. Okay, and then we need to connect. There we go. And we'll connect that there. Okay, yeah, and then I'll just put the last one down there. And then we'll be able to connect both ends to the local grid. There. Okay, so let's work on our power plant. Right, so I upgraded all these to Mark II belts and overclocked them, as you can see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade to Mark II belts, or Mark II miners. All right, so a Mark II miner with no overclocking will continue to feed this belt normally. They do use more power though. Let me sorry, the volume seemed kind of loud. They do consume more power though, 15 megawatts instead of 4 or 5, I think. And then obviously when you overclock it, it consumes a lot more. 37.5. But it's worth it because we're going to use all that to generate power. Okay. And then we just need to update the belt to Mark III. And then we're good to go. Make sure we don't leave out any segments. And we also have to update the elevator to Mark III. And then here, I'll delete this. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we're feeding all of this from that mining drill. 240 a minute. And we'll do the same to the other one. But I need more steel first. And then that other belt will bring over to the other side. And we could always overclock it to 250 as well. That would give us a couple more generators that we could run. And once we set up our more permanent steel production, we'll be able to use these two coal nodes as well. So we'll be able to squeeze quite a lot of power out of the little bit of coal that we have over here. All right, so let's set up our dimensional depots for the steel parts. And I'm just going to take all of those for now. Pipes, I don't know. I'll take a few stacks of pipes, I guess. Yeah, let's just take it all. Okay, and then we'll start uploading those as well. So you can see now I've already got a selection of items in there that we can access remotely. Okay, so we'll start by building up the foundation. And this would probably be a good time to make a blueprint, actually. Let me see if I have room and materials to make a blueprint designer. Ah, I'm missing concrete. Well, that means I'm going to have to go back, so I won't be able to do much without concrete anyway. So this is a good opportunity to see how the zip lines work with these fabulous power towers. So once you jump on, if you hold down the shift key, you'll go faster. But you can see that with this now, it'll be a relative piece of cake to get back and forth between the base and the power plant. Just takes a few minutes, or not even a few minutes, a few seconds. Okay, and I think I should be able to sever... Okay, I can sever this wire, but that is going to shut down our iron miner over there, so we'll have to take care of that. But we'll fix that on the way back. Let's go grab some concrete. And you know what? Since I have the parts, I may as well get this set up. I'm going to need a lot of concrete. All right. And let's see what I can drop off here. I picked up some more coal. We can throw that in there. Yeah, I guess that's all I want to do for now. And then we can delete that. And that. And that. Yeah. And so we can see that everything... Oh, this is not powered? Oh no, that's stopped. This is powered. Okay, good. Yeah, so we should be all set. Let's check the statistics here real quick. Yeah, so we're making 1200 megawatts and everything is connected now and it's much cleaner and looks pretty darn cool. All right. Oh yeah, the blueprint designer. I should have set that up while I was back at the home base, but we'll do it here temporarily. Let me see if I can find a clear section of ground. These things are rather large.
Once you have built a satisfactory blueprint, interact with the Blueprint Designer terminal to save it. It will then be available in the Blueprints tab of your build menu. Blueprints can always be edited to correct mistakes or optimize. If you find yourself struggling to work within the set size restrictions, remember that this is a you problem, and efficiency can always be improved.
Okay, now by size restrictions, what she means is that the blueprint has to fit inside this space, which right now is 4x4 tiles. Later on, we'll be able to access other larger sizes. But for now, what I'd like to do is just make a 4x4 foundation that we can lay down using blueprints. Okay, so let's change that to Zoop. Okay, so you just build it inside there. And then come over here and we're going to save this as... I'm going to call this 4x4x4 foundation because it's 4x4, 4 meters thick. You can change the icon to something memorable. In our case, we'll use the concrete foundation, and then we can save it. Oh, where did it get saved? Okay, there it is. And then after you've saved it, you clear the blueprint designer. And that'll take everything out and put it in this little chest so you can get your materials back. All right, and then I'll show you how we use the blueprint. I'm gonna have to get rid of this railing. Okay, so now when we go to the build menu, we have a blueprints tab. We can take our blueprint. And as you can see there, that's our 4x4 section. Now, it doesn't snap in the same way that a single foundation was. So the first time you have to make sure you're lining it up carefully.
Building in blueprint mode can further build modes are fixed.
Okay, and then we can press R to change the build mode to blueprint. And then that way it'll snap to the last placement of that same blueprint. Right, so I think you can easily see how this is much quicker and easier than doing it the old way. You can also delete entire blueprints. So when you go to delete something, you can go to blueprint mode there, and it'll delete the entire contents of the blueprint. And if you don't want to do that, you go back to regular mode, and like here in this case, we can just delete individual components rather than the blueprint itself. All right, so let me get rid of all this railing. And we'll add this in. All right, and we'll start setting up more generators. $16 to be exact. Okay, and I'm going to have these face the other direction. Let's see, is that lined up? Yep. And let's go like that. One more. Okay, is that gonna fit? Yeah, it fits. We'll need one more row there. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And hopefully they ended in the same place. Yeah, they did. So I know I got them lined up properly. Okay. Now we'll run the power. So I'll place my first pole there. Right, and again, these are just the power poles. We're not going to connect anything until these are all full. Now, because of the size limitation of the blueprint designer, not everything will fit inside of it. Like these generators, for example. Oops. Right, coal generators are not really good for blueprinting because they're so big. But, you know, small groups of constructors, assembly machines, smelters, supports for train rails, all that stuff, those are all very good candidates for using blueprints. Okay, now we'll get the coal connected. And at this point, it'll be fairly easy. Just going to throw up elevators on every one of these. Whoa. Oh, you know what? Actually, I need to leave this space open for our water extractors. Forgot about that. Okay. And then we put the splitters on. And then we're going to connect them with Mark III belts. Alright, and then we'll go, once this is done, we'll go upgrade that other miner to the Mark II and upgrade all the connecting belts to Mark III belts and Mark III elevators. Now we don't need Mark III elevators going into the coal machine, into the generators, because they only take 15 a minute, so we can use, you know, we can pull off of that belt with Mark Is. And that's totally fine. Okay. Yeah, so now we just need to get that, we need to run that second belt down this way. So I'll go ahead and delete this. All right, and we're clear there. I don't see smoke. That's concerning. Why don't I see smoke down here? Are these not running? They're not running. Why? I think I messed up one of these belts somehow. There we go. That's strange. I'm not sure why that happened. But this, it may... Well, I'll let this sit for a while. It may take a bit before... Like, these things are not going to fill up again. Right? And then you get this sort of thing. They're not going to fill up again because we're sending down the belt exactly what we need inside the belt. Or inside the machines. So you end up with this kind of a situation. I can help it by manually inserting some coal farther upstream. Okay, that one's full. That one's full. That one's not full. Let's fill that one up. Okay. Yeah, so we'll have to wait for those. And if they start to have trouble, like where they're flapping up and down like that, then we can fix that just by disconnecting some of these from power and then just waiting for them to fill up again. Disconnect it from power so it doesn't consume the coal that, you know, that we're trying to fill the machine with. All right. So this is going to be a Mark III belt then. Okay, and I will bring it, I'll bring it in close so that we have room for another belt at some point. What if we made that a Mark III? Yeah, that doesn't work so well. I'll just elevate it with a ramp like that. Okay. And then I'll just start upgrading this belt on our way over there. short some modular frames, so I'll just handcraft a few. Okay, now we're Mark II, and let's overclock it again. Right, 240 a minute. Beautiful, baby. And then we'll just need to connect the pumps, and we're in business. And while we're doing that, these can fill up with coal. All right. Let's see. Pipeline junctions. Did I come out that far on the other side? Let me take a look. Yeah, I did. Okay. Just want to try to make it symmetrical if possible. Okay, and then remember that we're still going to be connecting these. We're going to be connecting the water lines in groups of 4. So every 4 generators will have 2 water extractors clocked at 75% each. But it is easier to build it 16 at a time rather than 4 at a time. Okay. And then we start connecting the pipes. And 4. Okay. So the machines are all connected. And then we just need to start connecting the pumps. So that's 1, 2 connected to 4 down here. Right? We can see the water flowing. And it's gathering inside. Okay, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to 2. And 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to 2. Alright, so we should be all set with our connections. Looks like the coal is full already. Let's check on our generators over here and see if we're still having issues. Yeah, see this? No fuel. There we go. And then it'll start up again. And then it'll shut off. Right? And you can see that in the power production. So the solution here is we'll just disconnect these 2. This one's doing all right. So I'll just disconnect the last 2. Actually, we'll disconnect this one too. We'll disconnect all 3 of those, and we'll just wait. We'll wait for the coal to fill up on those again. And then once it does, we'll reconnect them, and then you'll see that they'll just continue to run nice and steadily. They have to have a buffer of fuel inside, otherwise it doesn't work very well. And that's why we're holding off on connecting all these until they are all completely full of coal and completely full of water. And it looks like they are. Yeah, so this side's ready to go. We'll start connecting these. Now, one thing I'll say about coal power is it's definitely worth overclocking your miners. You don't get as much surplus power, obviously, but you still get a lot more power than you would if you didn't overclock the miners. So overclock them. Don't worry about it being inefficient. Just get as much coal as you can and send them to the generators, and you're going to come out ahead. Okay, so these 16 are all running great, as you can see. All right, and we can see that our production is nice and steady since we disconnected those 3 that were flapping up and down. So let's see how they're doing. Not full yet. We'll have to wait a bit. Actually, I'm going to come over to the steel production over here, and I'm going to steal some coal out of those machines. I'll take that with me. We'll definitely do more blueprints in the future, but I think most likely what will happen is I'll build the blueprints. I'll make the blueprints myself offline, and then I'll show them to you, and we'll start to use them in our builds. That way we'll be able to build a lot faster. Okay, there we go. That one's full. That one's full now, and that one is full now. Okay, so now I can connect these 3 back up. And we should have no further issues. Now let's look at this beautiful power plant that we've built. There we go. 32 generators. And some misaligned poles down there. That's okay. I'm going to leave them. Kind of a bummer, but yeah. So this is our coal power plant now, and we are producing 2,400 megawatts. Plus the 450 from our original biofuel power plant, or solid biofuel power plant, and we're only consuming 600. So we have plenty of power to work with. It's not going to last as long as you might expect, just because we're gonna start using more and more larger pieces of equipment, like assemblers rather than constructors, for example. And those all use more power. So as the game progresses, yeah, we can multiply our power output, but we're also going to be multiplying our consumption on a fairly regular basis. So this 2.6 gigawatts or whatever it is that we got right now, it'll definitely take care of us through the rest of phase 2, but we'll have to add more power after that. So all right, well, that's all we have time for today. So in the next episode, I will start to discuss our plan for the phase 2 construction. I know this looks daunting. It's not as complicated as it looks, because a lot of this stuff we're already making somewhere. I'm just going to rebuild it all in one central location. So we'll get into that in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.